I'm an information person. You want information as it relates to the league or your Cowboys, I'll go get it. But in terms of breaking down, where was the breakdown in the play or why did that play work? I always go to Brian Baldinger. And what I love is sometimes I can call him up and say, hey, walk me through this. Like, why is there a deficiency on this side of the ball? He is so good at, and what I love about him is the passion for the game and breaking it down always comes through. He always gets a strong cup of Joe and he goes and he attacks film. And I love that mentality of his. But the best is in the off season when you get Baldy snorkeling off the coast of Hawaii, off the coast of Miami. He's like, look at that shark. Look the way it moves in the water. And I think we've got that shark on the line right now.
Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Baldy.
That was a hell of an intro.
Yeah, it is. It's good. I wish I was doing it right now.
You know you're one of my favorites. Where are you?
Thank you, Jane.
Where
I
are you?
Appreciate that. I'm just trying to enjoy my life the best I can, Jane.
And that's what I love about you. Where are you snorkeling off the coast of this week?
Well, I'm in New Jersey right now, but that's not going to last long. I'll be in, I'll be in the Florida Keys this weekend for sure.
I went to the Florida Keys for the first time in March. It's special.
I was just trying to think of what he could see in Jersey jumping in the river.
They got a lot of great white sharks down there. I wouldn't be getting in that water.
Got a lot of stuff in there. Baldy, you went viral here. You always do when you're breaking down Micah Parsons. But for the draft, you said, hey now, Dallas, let's get this guy some help. What type of reaction? Can you just reset that video that you made and your thoughts after they went and did what you suggested in getting Mazi Smith in round 1?
Well, I was sitting there on Tuesday before the draft in Los Angeles, and it was like 6 o'clock. I'm done all my responsibilities for the day, and I'm like, I don't want to go to the hotel. I don't want to go out. Let me go watch every pass rush of Micah.
I love that about you.
Let me just see the good, the bad, and where he needs help. So I text him about 100 pass rushes into it. I'm like, dude, does anybody ever get any push on your defense? Like, it's just you winning on the outside, and there's nobody else winning, like play after play. He goes, just tell me, don't watch all these balls. Just tell me how I can get better. So I tell him what I think he could do better. And then I'm like, it's just obvious. Like, they've got no interior push. Like, I live in Philadelphia. I see Javon Hargrave crush the pocket. I watched the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl. I watched Chris Jones just crush the pocket from the inside. The Cowboys don't have anything like that. And I'm not denigrating any of their players on their team, but that's not what they can do. And I thought that would be the best thing that could help Micah. Not just help Micah, like pad his stats and get 20 sacks like he's capable of, but it would lead to even more takeaways because the pressure that Micah is putting on him, they should have caught a lot more interceptions than they did. And so I just thought that was as good as the defense has been, which has been good, they could be better. And I thought a guy like Mazi could really help out this defense.
Baldy, have you ever met a player like Micah Parsons who has the sort of generational talent that he does, but he feels like a sponge, like he's always wanting more information to get better? Is that authentic in your experience? And is there anyone like him?
Well, I think, the difference between Micah, honestly, and almost everybody else, it's always the difference, Jane, between being great and being very good, is he never seems to tire. He never seems to get fatigued. And he maybe it's his wrestling background, but you can almost never find him on the ground. So, like, those two things are pretty special about any football player on defense. Like, they're not on the ground because you can't make a play on the ground. Even if guys are cutting you and you're trying to get through, the interior of somebody's offensive line and all this stuff. Like, the guy stays on his feet and seems indefatigable. But there's players out there that just want to be great. And I think that's where he's at. Like, he's been like that since day one.
One element of him trying to elevate his game is he's putting on some extra weight this season. I think, 10 pounds? How do you think adding some muscle to his frame will impact his game? And is that a sign that we're going to see him getting plugged in a lot more there at defensive end?
Well, I think that should be his position. Like, I mean, he's really good when they rush him from the linebacker position. But really, there's no point to Micah out there covering the slot receiver. I mean, it's just no point to it. There's no point with him running down the field covering a tight end. I mean, maybe a changeup now and then, but if I was an offensive lineman and I'm either blocking Micah or his backup or somebody else, and I'm watching him run down the field in a Tampa 2 covering the tight end, I'm like, good. Thank goodness I don't have to deal with that beast this play. I think it's probably the 10 pounds if he's doing that. I haven't talked to him about that, but if he is, more power off the edge. I think he could be more violent with his hands, and maybe Dan Quinn has a role with him rushing more than what we have seen the first 2 years.
Baldy, back to the Mazi Smith pick specifically. Obviously, Micah Parsons was really excited about it, but this is a guy that when the discussion started around here in Dallas, when people were trying to figure him out, this was not a guy we talked about a lot leading up to the draft. So there were some fans that were a little caught off guard and wondering, like, okay, what is this player? If you were to just give a snapshot of the player Mazi Smith, how would you describe him?
Well, I'll say this. Well, he's incredibly powerful. He's very strong. He's got low center of gravity. I mean, he's physically pretty much like a freak, the way that he can just overpower people. Michigan plays a different style of defense. I remember when Shan came out a couple of years ago, Green Bay's first-round pick. He didn't have great sack numbers or anything, but you watch the way that they ask these players to play. It's like they read first and then they react. They don't just go. And I think you're going to see a much better pass rusher than what we saw at Michigan, just because the NFL is all about, getting to the quarterback. And it's not really like that in college. There's a read option fake on almost every single play. There's a RPO in almost every single play. Like defensive linemen in college, especially the Georgia guys, but Michigan as well, like they're not just firing off and going like you have to in the NFL. And so I think you're going to see a different type of player at the NFL level than you are. Now, he still has a lot to learn. He looks like he knows how to get to the edge on a player. It looks like he's got some concept of how to rush the passer. But, they don't run twist stunts at Michigan. They don't run fire zones. They don't, there's a lot of things they don't do there because of the conference they play on. It's just college football in general. But, I think you're going to see a really explosive, powerful player on the interior that they haven't had.
Brian Baldinger, former offensive lineman for the Cowboys, Colts, Philadelphia Eagles, and you can catch him on the NFL Network and his incredible Baldy's breakdowns, which you can find on our network and on Instagram. You know a thing or two about offensive line. The Cowboys went through 7 different offensive line combinations last year. When you look at the tape, Baldy, what was holding them up? And do you think the Cowboys did enough to address that position this offseason? And what can we expect from Mike Solari? Do you think he's a guy that can fix some of this stuff?
I played for Machine Gun Mike. He started his career in Dallas, Gene, back in like 1986 or 87. I mean, he was the backup offensive line coach. Just about everywhere Mike's been, he's had a good offensive line. He was with Pete Carroll for a while in Seattle. They were really good. He was in San Francisco after he left Dallas. I mean, he's been around the league quite a bit. He's good. Mike's got a high energy guy. Nobody's going to slack off, but it started really with the injuries, and so there's not much you can do. The rookie was really good except for the penalties last year, and there's not much you can do when you guys have, Terrence Steele goes down, your left tackle goes down. I mean, those things you have to adjust, and so. Nobody, I don't think they really wanted to sign Jason Peters at age 40 to come in and play, but Jason was fine. Like, they just need to get healthy again. I think that's the biggest issue right now. Because, Connor McGovern goes in there at left guard, Smitty goes out there to left tackle. I mean, he's going back and forth, and he was good at both places. He moves bodies. But I think, can Tyron stay healthy? I mean, that's really the question. If he can stay healthy, they're going to be fine. If he can't, then what are they going to do? And how are they going to adjust again this year? But, if you looked at just the draft, just taking an offensive tackle from North Carolina, kind of, a project, I don't know if that's enough considering the injuries they had last year. If they're just counting on Terrence to come in and just nail down the right tackle spot, which he's more than capable of doing, they'll be pretty good if he can do that.
We talk about the best five. They've played a little bit of keep away with us as it relates to what we can really expect lining up there at the line of scrimmage. If it was you, where are you lining up Terrence Steele and where are you lining up Tyler Smith?
Well, right now, the way things stand, I think Terrence Steele is a good right tackle, and I would keep him at right tackle, and I'd put Tyler in at left guard and Tyler in at left tackle, and Zach and Tyler inside. That's what I would do right now.
Cowboys fans are going to hate that answer, but I love that we're getting it from you.
Well, but why would they hate it?
Because Tyron, it's just like a matter of time. It's like, why not just put Tyler, your future left tackle, there, keep him there, versus having to switch and shuffle? Because Tyron's probably going to go down.
Well, I don't know. Yes, he's had his share of injuries, and maybe he will, but that's his best position. I know he played right tackle some last year, but why ask him to adjust when we've seen Tyler already adjust? I think you got to just give it another year of Tyron at left tackle and Tyler. We know Tyler can go out there and play left tackle. And I hear what you're saying, but then why keep Tyron around?
Good point.
If you're already mentally making the move from him, anticipating his injury and just keeping Tyler, you're not going to play Tyron Smith at left guard. So, and I don't see them, I don't like their backup. Like maybe Josh Ball, maybe he evolves better than he has so far, but I just don't see a great backup situation right now where they're at with the depth that they have. It's not a good situation considering the injuries they just suffered a year ago.
Brian Baldinger, NFL Network on the Diamond Factory Hotline here on the home of the Dallas Cowboys. What did you think about the rest of their draft class overall?
Did they draft Mazi because, Dalton Kincaid went right in front of them? Was that I don't know what they were thinking. When Buffalo jumped right in front of them and took Dalton Kincaid, was that their target? And, okay, if that's the case, then that happens. You can get snookered, in the draft room, but you got to kind of know the value of a player, and you got to know what's going on around the rest of the league. So maybe that happened, but maybe Luke Schoonover is going to be a better player. Schoonmaker is going to be a better player. DeMarvion was a productive player at Texas for the last 3 years. They need speed on the inside, especially if they're going to move Micah to the outside more permanently. They need an inside linebacker. They've got to do more than right now than just having Leighton and Damone in there, at the inside linebacker position. So maybe that can help. Look, Fehoko was a good player in a bad conference. So, I like to see him against better competition. We'll see how that is. He looks a lot like Brandon and I to me, who they had and didn't keep at one point a couple of years ago. And then there's Deuce Vaughn, who was highly productive at Kansas State for 3 years. But it's just a lot to ask a guy that's that size to be any kind of more than a change of pace back at the NFL level. I know he ran through the tackles really well, but he doesn't have elite speed. He doesn't really have elite quickness. He's been very productive though, so you can't argue with that. If it's a Tony Pollard, Deuce Vaughn 1-2 punch right now at running back, I don't think anybody fears that at all.
What did you think of Malik Davis, the limited action we saw of him last year?
I didn't have enough to go on, Jane, to be honest with you, in his carries that he got a year ago.
So do you think that they're going to have to address some depth there, in other words? And, I'll ask you this question. Ezekiel Elliott, I know they haven't completely closed the door, although some of us sort of go back and forth on that. Would you bring him back as a third down back on a veteran minimum?
Well, I don't know if he'll do that.
Yeah.
Because I think he's just waiting to see, injuries and what happens. Philadelphia just basically signed 2 injury-prone backs in Rashad Perry, along with the player they just traded for from
DeAndre.
Swift.
DeAndre Swift. So, both those guys have had injury histories. So, but they're counting on both those guys. So, there might be somebody, for example, like that could shake loose anybody that gets hurt in preseason. I don't think Zeke is going to sign any kind of minimum right now, as much as I'm sure that he would enjoy still playing in Dallas. But he's still their best option as a 1-2 punch, as Tony Pollard gets healthy and comes back from his injury. But not at the, it's a cost to everything. And so not at the cost of what Zeke wanted contract-wise. So I think he's better off waiting to see if something else happens out there before he does something like signing a contract minimum.
There was a lot of upset Cowboys fans when they saw the Eagles snatching up Jalen Carter at 9 and Nolan Smith at 30. What did you think about those two picks from the Eagles? Because I think obviously both are really high upside players, but I mean, there's obviously also been questions about Jalen Carter's work ethic off the field, and then also Nolan Smith. He is a bit of a tweener size.
Well, so the question is, are they true steals, or were they just overrated to begin with? So you could go back and watch Jalen Carter from 2021, and it looks like Reggie White out there. I mean,
right.
He just physically throws people around. Like, you just don't see. But but you never see him on the field 5 plays in a row. But you never see any of those guys on the field 5 plays in a row. And so you go, are they in shape? Are they in condition? Or can you just dominate college football just rotating guys like that, which they have done? But, Jalen Carter got hurt week 1 against Oregon last year and had the high ankle sprain. He really struggled through it, but he played through it. But when you see him healthy, there's just not many people in the NFL right now that can throw bodies around like the way he throws people around. Like, he is a physical – he's just unusual. I mean, he's bigger, stronger, faster, Quinnen Williams, Jeffrey Simmons. You name an elite defensive tackle in this league right now. He already looks physically better than all of them. He's got to learn the position. Nolan, Eagles play a 5-man defensive front, so for the most part. And so Hassan Reddick, it was a perfect defense for him. He barely ever got doubled. And, the 49ers put tight ends on him in a playoff game, and he knocked Brock Purdy out in the 6th play. It's a perfect system right now for guys like Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith, who, is basically the comp. That's basically what Hassan Reddick was coming out of Temple. I mean, except that Nolan Smith is just a lot faster than Hassan Reddick.
Brian, was there another draft outside of the NFC East that you just absolutely loved? Whose class did you just really, really like what they did?
Well, I mean, you look at Seattle. I mean, they got the best corner in the draft in Devin Witherspoon. They got the best receiver in the draft in Jackson Smith and Jigba. They got basically a starting guard. They've got a starting defensive end. I mean, they got 4 starters on a team that had 5 rookie starters a year ago and a playoff team. So not many playoff teams go out and get the best corner and the best receiver and a starting guard, in the draft. I thought John Schneider and Pete Carroll did really good in the draft.
Baldy, thank you so much. I know this is the time of the year when a lot of guys sort of wind down a little bit. You watch a lot of tape, but I love that you bring such a passion for football to the show. Thank you for making me smarter as well as our fans.
Thanks, Jane. Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you all soon.